And we promised we'd be here. We didn't know what we were going to talk about, but Miami does indeed win. Welcome to CanesWear.com along with Bruce Warner. I'm Dave Lamont, and we are anticipating former Hurricane Claude Jones, now Dr. Claude Jones, lineman for Miami out of Dillard High School in Fort Lauderdale, to be joining us. You know, Bruce, you sit there and you watch the game, and you're involved with it for 3+ hours, and you form a narrative in your brain, and you think, okay, what are we going to talk about today? So when it's 20-0, and it's 17-0 at the half, and Miami dominated the first half. And defensively, they're swarming Virginia Tech. Tech made a couple of silly mistakes. That they lost a touchdown on a pass that should have been caught. But you're thinking, okay, this is a relief of a win. It's going to flush some poison away, and everything's going to be, better with a relatively, you got Duke and Virginia, teams you should be able to beat. And then and we end up with a nail biter that finally they had to clinch in the final minute.
It's been a season of what the hell could happen next, and that's what it's been, and it's still this way. Then there's no consistency, and you read about the offensive line a lot during the week, and we talked to some people, and we're going to have Claude's coming on, and then Tuesday night I'm going to have Leon to talk about this. But the offensive line they're just not good, and they don't have Zion Nelson, who's their best blocker. So it's a mess. Yeah. It's a mess. The false starts, the holdings by the kid at Trent, Jonathan Dennis. That's why we didn't get him in the first place. He went out to Oregon, but the line is a mess. I thought Van Dyke played well. He has no running game and no offensive line. What do you want from the guy? I mean, and then you lose Mallory.
Yeah, hopefully that's not going to be any more than this game, and we obviously won't know that. It seems reasonable to assume he's in a concussion protocol program. Perhaps Mario will announce more about that after the game today. He took a pretty hard hit that ended up in a targeting penalty, and I think the correct call. And I'm not the biggest fan of targeting and ejections especially. I think there should be like a red card, yellow card system like there is in soccer. But in this case, it was the right call. And as a matter of fact, even though it was very frustrating to see a game with so many flags, I have to say every replay showed they were justified flags.
For the most part.
I can't think of any that made me, believe the world was conspiring against the Hurricanes. And it's really odd too, Bruce, that here we are now. This is game 6, and you saw mistakes in game 6 that we didn't see in games 1 and 2 and even 3, the A&M loss. And that's what surprised me. Some of the stuff that happened today, the false starts and things, that's the part that is very, very weird to me.
And the late hits, a lot of them going out of bounds, things like that. We didn't have any roughing the passers, but we had a few late hits out of bounds.
No. They had a roughing the passer, but we did not. Right. It's just, I don't know. It seemed like you had everything going your way. This was going to be a breeze, it looked like. And then, but you know what? This is what happens when you're just an average football team. It's very difficult to sustain any kind of greatness. A great football team probably wins that game 34-0 or 34-7. And instead, an okay football team wins it 20-14. And again, it needs to go down to the last, needs to have your quarterback, who's not the best running back on your team, cinch it with a very intelligent play, by the way, the way he read that. To get the first down to end the game. So
we're going to get a lot of stuff about Gaddis too, I'm sure, because that's still a topic. And even though we threw the ball 5 million times in the last, week, 2 weeks, the offense is still stagnant because they can't block, they can't run, and so you don't even have to worry about the run. The linemen are just coming up the field. But they did some good things. They finally threw some screens, and they got the ball to a lot of different receivers. They looked good in the first half. That Kobe Young is legit. But stupid mistakes, stupid penalties. 30 yards. They make a 3rd and 26 or something like that. They made it.
Yeah, and they did. It wasn't even that close.
Right. You would think they would blow this team out, but they just didn't do it. 20 points is not a lot of points.
No. They put everything on the defense in the second half, and they either tired or Virginia Tech, they're on scholarship too. They started to play better football. But, it was too many chances. It gave Virginia Tech too many chances. And eventually, again, you're just not good enough to do that. the old Hurricane teams would give up 15 penalties a game and win by 35 because they were rich in talent. Obviously, this is not the case here, but it's still a win. It still gets you to even in the ACC, even for the year, and at least stops the poison of a losing streak. Right. I was even thinking to myself, if somehow, Bruce, they blew this game, this might have been worse than Middle Tennessee.
Probably. I would agree.
Because at least with Middle Tennessee, you kind of knew that this day was not our day. Right. Here, it was our day, all up until, and then, but we have a lot of folks on comment. We also have Dr. Claude Jones standing by. So here's what we're going to do. Let's take a moment. We will get, and by the way, you can call us at 563-999-3550. And we do have a caller on hold. I'm going to ask this person to hold for a little bit longer. And when you do get through at the number 563-999-3550, put your hand up. You just hit 1 to put your hand up, and we will get to you. We're going to bring everybody in, comments, callers, Dr. Claude Jones, but we do have a wise word from our sponsor, CanesWear.
Welcome to CanesWear. Family owned and operated since 2010, CanesWear has all the latest merchandise for the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Inter Miami Soccer, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of I-595, or online at CanesWear.com. CanesWear, the spot Miami fans shop.
And that's the folks who bring us the show. And let's bring in first off the former Hurricane, Dr. Claude Jones, who's only with us on audio right now. Claude, thank you for taking your time. Before we get to anyone else, we'd love to hear what you thought of the game.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
We can. Yep.
I'm trying to get this camera started. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There you are.
You got me?
Yep. We had you, but you dropped for just a second. But there you are.
Yeah.
So much. It's between the two of us. We go at each other constantly. What's up, man?
Yeah. Well. First of all, for the record, nothing's worse than Middle Tennessee State. So let's get that out the way. So that was pretty bad. But I just think overall, what I saw was a more of a open attack. The ball's going downfield now. Before we were throwing passes less than 10 yards. Dink and dunking all the way down the field. Seems like the O-line held up decent. Still no run game. I'm really not encouraged there. Like you said, Bruce, just silly mistakes overall. Thank goodness for a bad Virginia Tech team.
Yep.
So it's a win. It's a win, but I'm still not encouraged with them playing cohesively, number one, and really having a killer instinct and just going after teams to the storm. I'm just not seeing that. They're basically holding on for dear life, even against lesser talent. So still a long ways to go.
What do you see on the offensive line that just we cannot run the ball? Is there no firing out? Is there no? They're not strong enough. What do you see? Because there's as soon as our running back gets the ball, boom, they're hit. I mean, obviously they're keying on that. They're stopping our running game and trying to make us throw with deep coverage so that we don't have that many long balls. But what are you looking at that says to you, God, they got to fix this or they have to fix that?
Okay, they're not built for the run. So let's start with that. So Gaddis comes in with a system from the Big Ten, right? Big, 6'6", 300 pounders across the board, road graders, really, really, really good run blockers. We're not built for that. We're a smaller offensive line built on finesse, similar to what we had when I was there. We weren't very big across the board, but we won by finesse and quickness. So they're trying to implement this system with the wrong type of offensive lineman. And I think that's what's going on right now. It's going to take a while to recruit players to get into that system and really build around it, but they just don't have that right now.
Right. The guys that are coming in next year, a couple of those guys are really big. And then Inez Cooper is one of those. He was in the game today. I think he's number 64. He had a penalty, but he's massive. He's like 6'6", 340. He's big, a big kid. So that's what Mario really wants because we can't really run the ball with who we have.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let me point out something that's ironic, Claude. Early in the season, we're talking about how this team must run the ball to win because they don't have playmakers. And it seems like we're starting to see that flip a little bit. Now you see with Colby, and listen, if you're going to wear 88 and be a receiver in this program, you damn well better be good. And, now all of a sudden we're seeing Van Dyke the last 2 games come out of whatever slump he was in, and he's had to in order for them to perform well. So I'm confused now as to what the correct identity of this offense is.
Well, I don't think we really know at this point. They've been in and out, up and down. I think Van Dyke is finally settling in, but what I want to see is consistency. So if we're going to play a more wide open game, let's keep it that way. Let's not come back next week and we're back to conservative. I'm calling the plays from my couch, type of thing.
Right.
That's how it was in the past. It's been that way for a long time, that you can just sit down and just tell where the ball's going. So I hope we continue. It's about the consistency, long term. Let's take it to the next game. Who do we have next?
Duke.
So we have Duke. That's not going to be a walkthrough. And we got some tough teams coming up. So that's going to test us as well. So let's see what we can do against better talent as well.
So is this offensive line, are you calling this is not going to happen this year? Just we're halfway through. They're a finesse blocking team. You don't think they're going to be able to really run the ball unless they get hot one game and have a couple of nice plays and that's it. But it doesn't seem like it because everybody's banged up. We don't have Citizen. We don't have Cheney. Rooster's banged up. He can't even break a shoelace tackle. Franklin's 240 pounds, and he has got some power. And Parrish was out today. He's resting for next week. But so I don't know if we can get this thing going this year.
Yeah, not from a run game standpoint.
Right.
I just don't see that happening. They don't have the offensive alignment, and they're not built for that type of attack. It's not a Big Ten system, and that's why I was kind of confused when we hired Gaddis. I know he was a hot name at the time, but I was kind of confused because I was thinking with the talent and the recruiting efforts that we were going for more of a wide open spread attack. So, it's about identifying that identity. Like you said, if we're going to be a balanced attack, let's do it. But you got to build it around the run. That opens up the pass as well.
Let's hit our phone. Go ahead, Claude. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just one more thing. You can't expect Van Dyke to continue to throw the ball 50 times a game. It's just not going to happen.
If it does, it's probably not good.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's check in with our phone calls. Area code 302 is the first one with us. Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Philly to you. Just wanted to call in.
What's up, Philly? How's it going, man?
What's going on? Yeah, great game by the guys. A couple things. I think we have to understand that like injuries and not having a key depth has played like a big impact in what the coaches want to do or wanted to do, and what the results have been. Also we have to get past this. Like Gaddis brought this Michigan offense. Gaddis did not bring a Michigan Big Ten offense. He actually was brought up from Alabama by Harbaugh to install a spread offense. He did not learn offense from Jim Harbaugh. He actually learned his offense from when he was from Joe Moorhead, and then took those spread principles to Alabama and implemented that with Mike Locksley. So his offense is a spread attack with a power run pro style attack. Now, Dr. Claude is right. We don't have the offensive linemen to try to run that offense. So what has happened is the coaches have kind of dumbed down the scheme and made it where they're eliminating the check of the line, the reads, the progression that TBD has to make. They're shorting the field for him so he can only focus on either one or two reads. That's what we saw. We saw in the game, he had basically 1 to 2 reads. When they had to check with me, it was basically to say, okay, is this play okay? Because you're taking that away from him and making him read, because he's what they saw during the spring and the fall did not transition to the games. So they had to kind of implement and make it more suitable for his abilities. He's a very good thrower. He's a rhythm thrower. He struggles with his footwork, going through progression, and coming off of his initial read. So I know, like, one thing you have to understand is that, the coaches, you have so many limited practices in the spring and in the fall. It takes a while to bring this culture in, as well as learn what these players can do once the season starts, once live bullets start flying. Then once you see how they react, then you kind of keep implementing your culture, find out what they can do, and make changes as you go forward. But injuries play a part in that. Without having Citizen, without having Chaney, without having Parrish, that limits your running game. With having limited depth in the offensive line, that limits your ability to have players who may not be playing up to par, like Skate, who's like a fifth-year senior. You have no one behind him to challenge him or bring in somebody else.
Yeah, so we don't have his number one guy, Restrepo, and now he doesn't have Mallory or Arroyo. So really, his weapons are diminished greatly. So
and we don't know about Mallory, just so everybody knows who's tuning in or maybe on hold. Thank you, Philly, for the call. We always appreciate hearing from you. We don't know about the extent of Mallory's injury. It was announced in the second quarter on the radio broadcast and on a couple of other media outlets before the TV people got to it that he was out for the remainder of the game. Completely understandable. If there's a city that knows more about concussion protocol than South Florida or all of Miami right now, I can't think of one. So we're all very sensitive about that given what's been going on. But it's perfectly understandable in some regard why this team is struggling and why there's no consistency when you're constantly plugging in new people. And Claude, on the offensive line, there's so much communication that goes on that people don't see, that if you are always putting in different weird combinations, isn't that very hard to get that kind of necessary communication down?
Yep.
Give me one. Okay, I had a call come in. I'm sorry.
That's right. If a doctor has a call come in, we understand.
Yeah.
If it's a patient and it's an emergency, just put the phone in the other room.
No, that's okay. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Give me one.
Okay. You know what? Adam Foldis has asked, as a Canes fan, what positives can I take from this win going forward? I'll start, Bruce. Number one, they won the damn game.
They won.
The losing streak is over. You won despite, and if you want to go through that list, Adam, you won despite an extraordinary number of penalties.
Yep.
Both on both sides of the ball. So both sides are to blame for this. You had holdings on offense and defense. You had hands to the face. You had way too many false starts for the middle of the season. And I realized that I think one of them happened when they went Wildcat and you changed cadences, but that's what practice is for. Mm-hmm. If you're going to run that, then you practiced it. Defensively, up until I think they wore out a bit, I thought they were fast. They got 6 sacks today, and the tackling was, I don't think you can complain about the hitting that went on in that game. Those are the positives that I take out of it.
Right. Some bad angles. I mean, when that guy dropped the ball, which would have been a sure touchdown, Avante Williams took a horrible angle. And he thought maybe he was going to get to the ball, but he didn't. But we were very lucky that the kid dropped that ball, because that may be the difference right there between winning and losing. So there were some bad angles, but I thought Messidor was incredible. I mean, that's incredible.
Brought that up. Yeah, someone in the comment section brought that up, and that dude is legit. He is Miami's best D lineman, explosive, and at times unblockable. And he plays the run and the pass attack, very, very well. So he might be the
lines up also inside too. He's tough. And he's got a motor, which we haven't had that many guys with motors. They go in, they have them, they're out. You don't even see their name for 5 minutes. This kid's really good. He's really good.
Let's get this, Bruce. Let's continue with the calls while we wait for Claude, and hopefully this really isn't some sort of medical issue. Let's go to area code 845. You're on with CanesWear, Cane Sport Postgame Show.
Yeah, how you doing?
We're well. How are you?
I got 3 points I want to bring up. First of all, why are we snapping the ball with 10 seconds to go on the play clock when we're winning, trying to run the clock out. Number two, why, after Leonard Taylor makes great plays after great play, they take him out the next play? And number three, when Takori Couch commits the stupidest penalty right in front of Mario's face and he leaves him in the game, how is that possible? That's a Manny Diaz move. This is disgusting.
Greg, the last one, I think they needed him in the game because he's been in the game, and you don't want them to pick on some kid that hasn't been in the game the whole day. They had that happen a few times this year, so I think he's going to get yelled at anyhow. But in the first two, I can't explain those.
The first one is a mistake by Van Dyke. I mean, listen, because I have a family member playing on the Packers, I've seen a lot of Aaron Rodgers the last 2 years. And if there's one guy who slow plays a game better than Aaron Rodgers, I have yet to see him. If he's in the lead, no matter how small the lead or what period it is, or he is going to bleed clock. So that's on Van Dyke.
Yeah.
That's
or the coaches. You have to tell them one time.
No, the coaches, no, you know what? No. I'm tired of blaming coaches when players screw up. We have to just accept that that's a mistake by the quarterback. The coach, I don't know how they can
say, don't do that again. I want you to bleed it down to 3, and I don't want to see this anymore. That's all you have to say to the kid. He should know better.
How do you know it hasn't been said? This is one of the things, Bruce, that drives me nuts about the perception of coaches and players. We give coaches too much credit and we give them too much blame. And sometimes the athletes are the ones who screw up, no matter how many times, hey, listen, center or guard, don't false start. Well, you don't think coaches go over that? And what happens when the kid false starts? It's not the coach's fault. Sometimes you got to hold the players accountable for that. Ultimately, yes, the coaches they're the overseers. They're the CEO.
It's absurd, but guys do it. They still do it. Even in pros, they do it. But, I know that.
I hope right. So with the Van Dyke thing, to the caller's point, to Greg's point, thank you, Greg, for the call. I think that's Van Dyke. And the second one now I forgot about already. Look, guys get tired. Big guys get tired. They need a blow. They come out, and then they're in 1 or 2 plays later. That's just rotation. When you're rotating a bunch of linemen in, that's not unusual, as Tom Jones would say, to see people get rotated in. So, I would. The other thing that I'm surprised. Well, this is an interesting point. I'll get to that in a second. Disagree on tackling. All right, that's fine. Ghost call. I'm not going to make any medical. Miami has been vaccinated against red zone scoring. Funny, that was Virginia Tech's problem until today. They squeezed one in. Yeah. I'll take, to the point of the comment there, I'll take a score from anywhere at this point. Yeah, it'd be nice to punch more in, and you're right. The red zone scoring is just okay. It's not, it can always. There's a lot that can get better.
But Dave, how do you improve it if you can't run the damn ball? We can't run the ball.
Well, I think not having Parrish around hurts.
That hurts.
I think he's your RB1 to me. I know you're a big Rooster guy, but I think Parrish.
I don't think Rooster's the RB1 guy. I think Parrish is better than him.
I do. I really do think he's better. Now, let's see what happens. I mean, and the funny thing is, we don't. And this is not unusual for Hurricanes fans. And Claude's already mentioned this. We don't really know this offensive identity right now. We don't know if they can run the ball to lock down a game. They could not do it today, to the point where the offensive coordinator is calling 3 straight pass plays with 6 minutes to go in a situation where 3 handoffs, even if they gain 2 yards, eats up at least a minute and a half more on the clock than the 48-second possession they had, where Virginia Tech then promptly went down and scored.
Yep.
So that was frightening to me what they were doing. 1 pass, okay, if you think you've got something that's going to click and you have a play that would be a safe pass play, roll it. But it didn't work. So finally, at the end, they ran the ball just well enough. And again, Van Dyke, what I thought was a really great decision to keep that ball. And then that was it. He slides, and it's a win. So that's what we are.
Rashard Smith had a good game too. He's really stepping up lately. Rashard Smith,
yeah,
and especially after the catch, he's a little dart. He's good. I'm not big, but he's a compliment to these other guys while Restrepo's out. He's playing pretty well now. And
Well,
Ladd's
yes,
had a
he has.
problem too, but he's playing well too. So
You know,
I
you look
think
at
it's don't
individual
start.
stats. So we look at individual stats. I mean, Franklin had 4 carries for 24, but one of them was for 18.
Right.
So otherwise, not much to brag about. The longest run was actually Brown for 19 yards.
Right.
But you had Young with 9 catches, and he was targeted 15 times.
That's a lot.
And he had the touchdown. And what was, by the way, as good a throw as I've seen in college football all year was that second touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
That was a phenomenal throw.
I was within inches of the defender. Within inches, it was right on the
There
line.
was no other place for that ball to go if it was going to be anything positive for Miami, and he hit him. You mentioned Smith, 6 catches for 76. Mallory was looking great until he took that hard shot. Ladson had the touchdown. He did have 5 catches. So we want, again, we go back. It's so funny, Bruce. I was off for a couple shows. So I come back. Thankfully, they win. So everybody is mostly in a good mood.
Yeah, you missed a good one. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for going to Vegas. What did you do? Walk back?
Oh, Vegas, dude. I did that show.
Oh, that's right.
I did
that show. But maybe you walked back, and that's why you missed 3 couple of weeks.
Southern Miss. No, so I remember our conversations, and it was like, well, we have no playmaking receivers. We're going to have to run the ball to succeed. Now we're at the halfway point of the season. We can't run the ball, but now we're starting to find some receivers.
Mm-hmm.
The whole narrative about this team's on the offensive side anyway has completely switched. We've got a call from 985, and we have lines open, by the way, at 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. Let's get to area code 985. You're on with Bruce and Dave.
Yeah, hey Bruce, hey Dave, Swagger for Life here from the CanesWear board. I'm not buying anything any of y'all are selling. I think this coaching staff, particularly offensively, was caught with their pants down. I think they know it. I think they're acquiescing to what they have on their roster because it gives them the best chance to win.
Well, yeah, of course.
The coach does.
Why else do you see – wait, let me finish my point. I'm sorry. Why else do you see the mountain of injuries that we have and no reporter being allowed to practices during the week? Why? Because Mario Cristobal is busting their butt. They can't hold up. What you've got is a bunch of finesse, Rhett Lashley, Manny Diaz players with now a hard-nosed coaching philosophy style that was brought in to coach this team for the next 10 years. They're going to be here longer than the kids that were recruited here before will be, period. You've made your commitment to Mario Cristobal to right this ship and his staff, whether or not he wants to make changes or not after year one, which is not going to happen for all these fools who keep wanting to blaming coaches. What's going to happen is this. You're going to see a wholesale change, not too dissimilar from what happened this past year with the transfer portal at positions like offensive line, running back, and it's too bad Trevante Citizen went down because this offense that what Gaddis actually wants to do needs a guy like Trevante Citizen, somebody that's 6'2", 220 pounds, and not a third down back like Henry Parrish or a Jalen Knighton. By the way, Lucius Stanley is our second best back right now behind Henry Parrish in my mind.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good. He sees the
he does. And he got 4 touches today.
Of philosophy between roster and coaching philosophy. It's disgusting.
No, it's not disgusting. What it is common. This is one of the reasons. Now, I fully am on board with the coaching change, but this is one of the problems you have when you have the constant overturn of coaches. You get your players, and then you get fired, and the new guy comes in, and if he's at all different, and he's supposed to be different because what you were doing wasn't working, then you do have a mismatched set of toys. You have Legos that don't fit, and it's going to take anywhere from 1 to 3 years for those Legos to fit. And so I don't understand where your problem is with what we're saying. We agree with you. If we mentioned things that went well, sorry if you didn't like that, or things you didn't, but that's what's going to happen. And everything you said was right.
It happened to Jimmy Johnson when he got here with the 8-5, and he got rid of the coaching staff and the coach.
All right, go ahead, caller. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
No, I was saying earlier when Dave and you and Bruce were talking, y'all were saying how everything's good. They got the W. They
did
kind of put lipstick on it. It's not. I mean, I give it. You're trying to come out of something positive. Okay, I see. But look, this is a mess. It is a mess of effort proportions. I think the coaches knew it. I think Mario knew it after the Bethune-Cookman game. And I'll submit to you this. Tyler Van Dyke, with his 500 yards of passing and with his ACC Players of the Week, is not the right fit for a Mario Cristobal, Josh Gaddis coach team. Why? Tyler Van Dyke knows one thing, 3,000 miles an hour. You slow him down and he struggles. They want to try to run a controlled offense, all control the line of scrimmage. I guarantee you what you saw today and what they're having to do with the people that they have, they do not want to do. They don't want to do it. And for all the people that love this fun and gun and this running gun, that's what
it's not. But it's not a fun and gun offense. No, now I'm going to have to stop you because it's not a fun and gun offense. Nothing remotely like that. This isn't Mouse Davis's run and gun or anything from Mike Leach, air raid, or any of that stuff. Because you're not lining up and trying to shove 110 plays down somebody's throat, of which 80 are passes. And actually, those teams, by the way, were geared to run the ball and set up to pass, like Baylor used to do it under the criminal, Art Briles, and they would set up these gigantic lanes, and you would think, oh, crap, here we go. And what would they do? They would run. Hang on. It's my, you asked.
I understand what you're saying, but Dave, how many pass attempts did Tyler Van Dyke have today?
In the 40s.
Had to be 60.
No, in the 40s.
I mean, come on. Really?
Are you gonna argue with the statistics? If you're not happy, that's fine. It was 40. It was 46 passes. So I'm afraid I'm telling the truth here. It was 46, not 60.
Okay. He has screwed it. Look, the whole thing is screwed up. Mario. Poor Mario. I feel so bad.
Why? He's getting paid. Don't feel bad for him. I don't think Mario is an idiot. I don't think
he's got a big mountain to climb.
He knows. You don't think he knows? And if you don't think he knows, then you think he's stupid. And I don't think he's stupid. He knows this.
You know what? I said this the other day on Lamar's show. I don't know if you listened, but he told Leon after the spring that these guys don't know how to work. They had to teach them how to work. They didn't work before. They went to practice and they left. It wasn't anything beyond that. Now they're working harder, but they don't have a lot of the talent that we want to see. So that's why he's recruiting 4 and 5 stars. He's not accepting 2 and 3 stars, which is what Mario did. He didn't go after the big names. And when he did, he didn't get them. So I think we're ahead of the game with the recruiting class. But as far as what's on the field now, it's hit and miss. And now when you lose all these guys, well, what do you expect? They're not good. They're just not good.
They're just exactly what 3 and 3 looks like. Let's keep going with the calls because we got a bunch of them here. We have one more local, 786. Well, listen, by the way, some of the points he made were actually fine.
I don't disagree.
But you cannot expect when you bring in a completely different set of people, and you can't. This isn't the NFL. Jimmy Johnson could go to the Dallas Cowboys and trade 12 people or make all the moves he made to get his kind of team, and he knew he could endure getting his ass kicked for a year or two, which he did, and then we know how it turned out until vodka intervened. But anyway, let's go to 786. Go ahead, man.
Hey, Dave and Bruce, how you guys doing?
All right.
Who's this?
Well, I wanted to emphasize a few things. I understand that we're not where we'd like to be, but and today's game was definitely not what we want to look like. But it was on the road, number one. Number two, you had a lot of guys go down and a lot of young guys have to step up. And even though they didn't play at the highest level that they possibly could play collectively, there was a lot of positives in terms of their individual performances.
What I'm saying is it doesn't matter that it doesn't matter that, look, here's following.
Not sure where that's coming from, but that's none of us. So,
okay,
go ahead, caller. Yeah,
I just felt that overall, you did what you had to do to win the game. They didn't execute very well in the second half. Brett made some great adjustments at halftime. And frankly, we pretty much just missed one big play that would have put us at 24 nothing. We just missed one big play for pass protection on that play. But it happens. But look at the revolving door you've had at guard. We've tried to come up with different combinations. I think also one thing that's been omitted by many people here is the change in center, which that's going to impact his rhythm as well. Yeah, Tyler loves to play fast. We know that he's got to get better in a lot of different areas. But when this offense has that tempo and he's got that rhythm, it's a very effective offense. I mean, you've got enough film that says that that's correct. Things that need to be worked on, no doubt about it. But overall, for what you have and the quality of players that you have and the level of experience that you have, they did what they needed to do today to win the game. It's not what we want. Obviously, we'd love 48-0 or 48-7 or something like that, but it's still the first step that you need to have. And I think that's the foundation for ACC play the rest of the year.
Well, it's going to have to be. Thank you. I appreciate your call. It's going to have to be because because this is what we have. The biggest thing to me, Bruce, is the news that comes out of the trainer's room in the future. I mean, Restrepo still isn't ready. Mallory is a mystery. Parrish, you mentioned, it looks like, Chaney. Parrish, you mentioned maybe a go against Duke, who happens to be 4-2 for whatever that's worth.
Maybe no Brian Nelson. I don't know about Ja'Kai Clark because Dennis was playing the center today and he was awful. And I'll tell you what stunk today. Scaife. Oh, my God, did he make a lot of mistakes. And I thought, he's a senior. He's making all these mistakes. So it's not pretty. The offensive line is a mess. And Mario knows that. He's not dumb. That's why he went out and got a lot of big guys. He wants big guys.
Well, he is. There's been a big emphasis on offensive line recruiting.
Is he still on the phone? Is that 305?
No, that's 78. I think I have done a goofy job here holding on to callers. We do have a 305 though. That's
no. But his name is Everything 305. That's what we call him. We call him Everything.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, we can.
A couple of things. One, I understand that today's win wasn't pretty, but I'm trying to take the long view as a Canes fan, and I know it might be apples and oranges, but people forget, like, Nick Saban's first team at Alabama was horrible, and didn't they use for, like, a University of Louisiana Monroe?
They did.
Or some smaller school like that. So even as a Canes fan, I know we want to be 12-0, but should we also be taking the long view and saying, okay, this year is that building year. Next year may also be that foundation year to get into like a year 3, 4, and 5. And again, I was also old enough to remember the banners from Champs to Chump Saints Butch. So should we as Canes fans try to be taking that long view?
You should be, but a lot of people aren't. Yeah, I understand that people aren't going to take the long view because there are a lot of people who expect or demand or thought they might get immediate results because what happens, and listen, I've been covering this sport since since Howard Schnellenberger lost to Florida A&M when I was a student at the University of Miami. You get built up with a new coach, regardless of who it is. Mario came in with an especially hyped build up because he's the alum coming back. He's the guy from the 305. He's all about being in Miami. And people are buying into immediate results. I don't remember him ever talking about winning a national championship his first year or going to the playoff. Nobody is talking about that. People get frustrated because they see a game like today that was right there to being, this could have easily been a complete blowout. We fall asleep in the fourth quarter, wake up in time to do the show. And instead, I'm pacing around the living room wondering if they're going to get one more first down to win the damn game. I understand if people are frustrated, but at the end, Bruce, you are what you are, and this is 3-3.
Yeah, and I've learned my lesson. I can't look at the schedule and say this is how we're going to wind up because we never thought 3-3 in 100 years. We may be 3 losses, but not 3-3. Because the preseason saying 9 wins, 10 wins, 8 wins.
Well, yeah, but you can still get to 8. It's not going to be guaranteed.
Whatever that Mandy struggled with, Mario was going to win. We all assumed we breezed through the Coastal and maybe lose to A&M and maybe lose to Clemson. and maybe one other game. That's what we all our
Well, I think we underestimated North Carolina. North Carolina's got a great quarterback.
Yeah, they do. That kid is good,
and that kid's really good.
He's
so
really good.
That automatically makes them tougher. And close game, couldn't win it. A&M to me is the game that got away.
Right.
That was winnable, but didn't win it.
And our offensive line in that game was really good, but they're banged up now. We lost all the good players from there.
It's a different group. And I think one of the and we have another call too, but a couple of them in fact. But I look at Jeremiah, who pointed out, if you look at there's a debate here between two in the comment section about the level of talent here, Bruce, between 18, 19, and 20. Some people think, oh, we got a lot of talent. Others are saying, no, we really didn't. And I'm beginning to think that the no, we really didn't is accurate. You've seen just about every damn guy come through here who's played, and it's part of it is injuries. Yeah, we've talked about that ad nauseum since we started 41 minutes ago. We've talked about how the offensive line is hurt and the cohesion is not there. If your offense, let's face it, if you suck in the trenches, you're going to suck. The defensive line played pretty well. You have no complaints about that. I don't hear anybody bitching about the D line today or the linebackers.
Well, the linebackers for the most part. You're right.
No, nobody should, and frankly, nobody should. If they got worn out at the end of the game, it's because the offense couldn't finish these guys off.
Yeah, that 48-second drive was horrible. Even if you know you're going to leave it up to your defense, then why not run, let them burn a timeout? At least you would lose a minute and a half or 2 minutes, not 48 seconds. If you're playing,
I'm with you.
Right? That was dumb. That was the coach. It had to be, I guess.
That is right, because Van Dyke's not calling those plays. I don't even know how much freedom he has at the line of scrimmage, although a couple times I did see him check plays into something that he thought was better.
Right.
But no, that is coaching. Now, I sometimes defend the coaches, or maybe I put more blame on players, but that particular sequence was coaching decision, to say the least. And then, of course, it's up to the guys to execute, and they did not.
So now that Claude is back, we have to tell him that the people we've been talking to the last 15, 20 minutes while you were gone voted you the worst offensive lineman in the history of the school.
Well, you know what? That might be true.
One step above Kelvin.
Yeah. You know what? That might be true depending on the game. No, I'm joking. No.
Holding or 70.
Yeah.
Let's have you listen to another caller here. But 717 needs to put a hand up. Is this guy, Bruce, the 304, the same one we were arguing with earlier?
I don't know. His name is Everything 305. Gary.
Well, but it's 304 area code.
I don't know if his area code's 305. I'm just saying.
I don't know. All right. But now let's go into area code 717, and you're on with Bruce, Claude, and Dave. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. How you doing tonight?
All right.
Listen, I won't take too much of your time. You have a lot of callers in queue, but I want to make a few points. I want your opinions on what I have to say here. First thing, I watched Hurricane this year. I have not seen one. Is it me, or has anybody seen a post route? I have not seen any post route at all in their offense. Today wasn't a great time for that. It also wasn't great. Have you seen any screens? I haven't seen any screens to our tailback. I don't know what's going on with some of our pass patterns, our pass trees. It's a little bit of confusing, but basic things like that. Today I saw the defense knew we had no running game. So what they did was they brought the linebackers up and they were just going to blitz to the middle. What a great time to do it. A middle screen, a screen to the right, to the left, something to throw them off.
He's right. He's right. We've been saying that all season so far. Those screens are missing in this guy's offense.
Well, I the only back who caught a pass today, I'm looking at the stat sheet here, was Franklin, who caught one for 12. And I'll be honest, I don't remember what type of play it was.
Yeah, that play was like a dumb route. I saw it too, and that was just. It was not designed right. It was just a breakout. But another thing is this: I think everybody loves a Corey Flagg, being 5'9", 230, whatever he is, and he can't run. But understand this: as playing a linebacker before. This guy is a liability in pass coverage, and it was proven again today. What they did was they take the back and they get him out, and there goes Corey Flagg blowing his responsibility, and then the back catches the ball, and he goes for a long route. Every single game. North Carolina did it last week. Middle Tennessee made a living off of him. He needs to be taken out in obvious third and long routes. Take Corey Flagg out. He cannot run. He's not a Division I Power 5 linebacker at all. Okay, I know it's great that he studies the playbook. He's a quality guy, good kid, but he's not a good athletic linebacker. That's it.
Well, and they know that. They know that. That's why they're trying to get more for Basaint in there. He got in a lot more today than he's had all season. I saw Nigel Kelly get in there, but he's mostly playing rush end. But, you know, it's a work in progress. The linebackers are clearly the weak spot. Now it's the secondary, which I didn't think it was. But it is, because they just don't have anybody that could stop a quick, fast receiver. It's not Stevenson. He actually should be a safety, but they have him playing corner because that's why he wanted to transfer here, promising to be a corner. So they have problems in the back end of their defense. Claude, your thoughts?
Yeah. You know, again, I think it may come down to just having enough time to play together. You know, they're still they're still pretty young. So I just think over a period of time, that's going to come with experience as well. You know, so hopefully, you know, they can gel from game to game, you know, especially gain that experience, because even on defense, you still have to have some level of communication and working together, you know, so one guy can cover the next. So, so hopefully that cleans up over the next few games.
What do you guys think they're going to address now this week? Because last week we knew what it was going to be for this week. They had to try to run the ball, and they really still couldn't do it. So what do you think? The penalties? What?
I think just becoming more balanced, trying to run the ball better. They're having no push up the middle. They can't run inside. You know, it's just absolutely dismal from the run game standpoint. But I do agree with the caller. You know, we do need because a lot of those balls, although they were long completions, some of them look like 50-50 balls to me.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't like zip in, the guy caught it. You know, it was kind of like the guy had to wait for it a little bit. So they're still off there. There's something still off. But we do need more. Then those were more 9 routes, you know, just straight down the field. I would like to see more of a variety in routes.
Yeah, and I don't see any curls or any of that kind of stuff. It's like they're
they just run straight down the field.
Straight down the field. There's no hooks. There's no curls. There's some square outs here and there, but for the most part, I'm not seeing a lot of the routes you guys used to run.
Yeah.
And you got to get the ball in your hands to playmakers. So if they can't run the ball, those quick outs or that's an exchange for they can't run the ball. And they were somewhat successful, although Skinner
there are a couple of holding penalties on those. Yeah.
Hold on a hold, right. But that's a way to run the ball without running the ball, to get it out there quickly. Yeah, but they don't even have any tosses. If you say this is a finesse offense, why isn't there like a toss sweep to Rooster? He's got the speed to get to the outside. Why is he running between the tackles? I don't understand that part. Especially if they're jamming the line of scrimmage. What are you doing there? You're playing to their strengths.
Yeah, well, you know, if you look at what teams are doing, you know, they're stopping the run and they're going to dare us to throw the ball, and that's why we got to put it in the air 50 times a game. You can't win like that. It's not sustainable. So you need more of a balanced attack. You look at some of the good teams right now; they're balanced and they're able to run the ball even a little bit. You know, if you can get 100 yards on the ground, 125 yards on the ground, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, you know what else helped us? They dropped the ball a lot today. They had a lot of drops.
Their version of this show is dealing with
a million balls.
Whatever's going on in Blacksburg right now, that is a main topic of conversation. Is that I'm sure they feel like they made enough mistakes to lose the game, which they did. And it sounds like a lot of our people think we made enough mistakes to lose the game here too, as well. So that's what happens when you have two and three.
He missed a lot.
I know.
He's not that. He's okay.
I don't think he's that good. He would make one play that was good and then follow it up by throwing it in the dirt, by missing a guy badly. He's just an average quarterback. Van Dyke at least is better in that position. But, Dr. Claude is exactly right. There's no balance today. It was something like 46 passes and 28 runs. And the last 3 of those, I think, were Van Dyke taking a knee. Yes. So you're talking about 25 legitimate running plays. And they're ahead the entire game. Miami didn't trail from the start to the finish of this game. So the identity that we thought we were going to get, we're not apparently ready for. Now, if Parrish plays against Duke, and by the way, if you want to watch Duke tonight, they're on ACC Network at 8 against North Carolina. So, and that's a big game in the conference, by the way. Duke is 4-2. They're 1-1.
We have to root for Duke.
We actually have to root for Duke, right? Although North Carolina will always have that game at hand in case of a tiebreaker. But you can watch Duke and get an idea. I think athletically, Miami should be better, but Duke has been surprisingly good after bottoming out the last couple of years. You think we had problems. But Duke is at least beginning to bounce back a little bit. Yeah. So it's going to be a fascinating game because this is in that line of games that we always expect Miami to win. Should always beat Georgia Tech. Should always beat Virginia. Should always beat Duke. And that hasn't always happened in the last 10 years.
You're right.
That's right.
We were embarrassed at home. Wasn't it pouring? And Duke beat us. Daniel Jones beat us at our stadium a couple of years ago. Georgia Tech beat us one year. Here. Embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So I think everybody assumed that we got Mario, we were going to beat.
Those games have a tendency to go either way, be 50-50. It's like Dave said, many of those games we're picked to win, and then it ends up going the other way. So those are the sneaky games. Those are those trap games that we go into. We kind of lay down a little bit. We'll breeze through this looking for Florida State or Clemson or something like that. And then you get your butt whooped. So,
these guys have to play hard every week to win. There's no gimmies anymore.
Yeah, that's right. We're not that good. We're not that good.
We're not that good. You guys used to walk out there and before in the warm-ups, you'd scare the crap out of them. And they would.
Well, the way we looked at it, we only had 2 games every year: Florida State and Notre Dame. That was it. I mean, everyone else, you just cross off the schedule. It didn't matter.
Well, nowadays, it couldn't be any more opposite of that. Also, the other big game in the ACC, obviously, is the FSU-Clemson game. Clemson seems to be getting better. Florida State is playing a little bit tougher competition after their start. Of course, LSU was tough competition. We can't discount that opening night. But, they're trending sort of in the wrong direction. So, Clemson favored there. I think that's the ABC game, right? It's 7:30 or something like that. So you've got two important ACC games. One much more important for Miami, which is not the FSU game. It's North Carolina and Duke. And then, of course, Florida State and Clemson is kind of a window dressing game. I imagine most Hurricane fans will root for Clemson in that just because.
Because of recruiting. You don't want them.
Well, recruiting too. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You don't want them to continue to have success. Florida's got a great recruiting opportunity today if they can beat LSU in the Swamp, where they're a slight favorite to win that game. Games at night, LSU has gone in there and won before. Now, newly minted Southerner Brian Kelly has coached in some tough environments, so I don't think his team will be intimidated by the Swamp, but they'll be ready.
He's good after a loss. They lost the opener, and then he did pretty well. Then they lost last week, so he's usually pretty good after a loss, but we'll see tonight.
Yeah, but that'll be an interesting. And you know what? While we have a minute here before we get to some more comments, let me just hit some scores of some games that have some interest. Well, NC State, you saw, is losing their quarterback for the year.
Yes.
And they're at Syracuse right now, and it's just about halftime. They're losing that game 10-3.
How about Knoxville? Let's look at that Knoxville score.
Yeah, 28-10, Tennessee over Alabama, and Bryce Young is playing.
Yep, 28-10.
During one of the callers was yelling about something.
David, they got
Oklahoma State 24-7 over GCU.
Second quarter. Do you see the score? 28 points. There's 11 minutes still to go. They may score 60 on Bama.
they may actually finally be good.
Yep.
After their rather impatient fan base has been waiting for the right guy. Oklahoma State's up on TCU 24-7. BYU leads Arkansas 21-17. Wisconsin, Michigan State. Boy, talk about two teams that have let their fans down. That's tied at 7 in the second quarter. The big final today of the early games was what Michigan did to Penn State. Well, it was a close game. Michigan blew them out 41-17 to stay 7-0.
It was 17-16 Penn State.
Improved to 7-0.
It was 17-16
right.
Penn State, and then Manny Diaz put his defense on the field to the tune of another 20-something points. But whatever.
Well, Michigan ran for 418 yards in that game.
They ran for 400 yards?
Yeah, they ran for it.
Yeah.
Woo.
Ran for 418. In fact, I saw, but during one of the commercials, I saw the Donovan Edwards touchdown run. They had another 61-yard touchdown run on top of that. And let's see what else they had two huge
they have a massive
plays.
offensive line. Massive.
Well, that's a Harbaugh style, though. I mean, that's what he wants to do.
Right.
He is, but he's been there long enough. Even when things were rocky with him and he wasn't beating Ohio State for the longest time until last year, they stayed with him and let him put this team in his image. And now it seems to be paying off. Now we'll see what happens when they play Ohio State, which ought to be a spectacular game to watch.
Yeah, that's always a good game.
Yeah, but especially now that Michigan seems to be their equal. Illinois beat Minnesota. Illinois 6-1 for God's sake.
Yes, they are.
Ole Miss stays unbeaten. They blew out Auburn. It's any day now for Brian Harsin. Texas didn't lose to Iowa State, and that surprised me. I thought if Texas was going to let down, this would be their week. They won 24-21, and Coastal Carolina took their first loss. They got blowed out by Old Dominion 49-21. So those are just a few scores of interest from this Saturday college football. The score that interests all of us who are tuned in here to the CanesWear postgame show is, of course, 20-14. Hurricanes don't cover, and neither team reaches the total. But nevertheless, it still ends a 3-game losing streak, puts Virginia Tech in a position now where I'm not even sure they're going to play a bowl game, which would be tough for Brent Pry in his first year to not have that extra game and the extra practices to get better. So we'll see what happens.
Claude, do you watch, the safety, Williams? Everybody wants him to be a linebacker. Now, I know he seems to take a lot of bad angles, and we discussed this last week. We had who was on it? Oh, Santana was on the show. We had a bunch of guys talking about the kid in high school. He freelanced. So you can do that in high school when you're 6'4", 6'5", 220. You can make mistakes, but you can overcome them because you're so much better an athlete. Here, the same things, he's being exposed. I don't know if he's big enough or strong enough to be a linebacker, but if you put 20 more pounds on this kid, why can't he be like LT, Lawrence Taylor, off the edges? Because he's not going to be a safety that one. He can't be. He just doesn't. He can't cover.
Not everyone can rush the passer. So let's start with that. So you can't take a safety and make him a pass rusher. That's a bad move.
Oh, he's a safety by name, but I don't think he is by build.
Right. But that's the point I'm trying to get to. So what you do is you make him like a hybrid. You make him into like this rover position where he comes down. So he's like a hybrid linebacker safety, strong safety, and he becomes a matchup nightmare. You can put him on the tight end. You can put him in the slot. So you can move him around. You can blitz him a little more because
that's what Clemson did with Simmons.
Exactly.
That's kind of what I meant, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they did with him. So and you get to move him around. That gives you more flexibility on defense too.
I'm sure they projected him. They saw him play that freelancing style and said, okay, we can take him, try to tame those instincts, those freelance instincts, and get him to play our way, and it isn't working out at the moment. And just the comment to E. Taylor, who has been kind of grumpy in the comment section, sad do we wish to get a team's. And by the way, let's put a halt to spelling the word lose with 2 O's.
Yeah.
All right.
I see that all the time.
Yeah, it drives me even more crazy than I already am. But the point is, I think Mr. Taylor or Miss Taylor, you always want the other guy to lose, no matter how good you are.
Yeah.
And, don't forget how intense it was with Florida State and Miami when both were the two best programs in the country. And that game was loaded with not just future pros, but future Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
In the 80s when that game was insane, you always want the other guy to lose. You always want your rival to lose. So your point, I half agree with it if that's possible. You should try to get recruits on your own merits, but it never hurts if the other guy, especially in a state like this with so many. James Franklin, I saw last week at an American Heritage game on a day off, looking at a freshman wide receiver. And at least finally Heritage shows up with Daryl Porter Jr. Admittedly, he went to the wrong school first, but that's how crazy the state is that James Franklin takes his week off and spends at least part of it in Broward County.
Yep, that's. Let's give another shout out to CanesWear because I got this beautiful shirt from these guys.
Well, if you insist, because a spy seems to think that we haven't paid our bills, and that spy is wrong.
Welcome to CanesWear. Family owned and operated since 2010, CanesWear has all latest merchandise for the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Inter Miami Soccer, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of I-595, or online at CanesWear.com. CanesWear, the spot Miami fans shop.
That's it, right there.
There you go. We can be reached at 563-999-3550. Bruce, I'm pretty sure this is the gentleman who was arguing with us earlier. I'm debating with my common sense whether we should bring him back and hope that he's going to be in a good mood, or if we should just go ahead and let him dangle for our delight. I don't know. You know what? Claude was busy saving somebody's life, so we'll go ahead and bring that gentleman back.
That's it. That's it. Right?
Yeah, Claude. Claude, did you ever see Caddyshack?
Yes.
Remember Dr. Beeper? That's who you were there, Dr. Beeper. You're like taking a beeper. Just put a tube down his throat. I'll be there in half an hour.
Hey man,
what do you got? Your 35th anniversary gear?
Yeah, so they just mailed everything to me because I wasn't able to make it because I blew out my Achilles.
When?
About 4 weeks ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, walking down the stairs.
That's you.
Yeah, I mean
did you tell me that? I forgot if you told me that or not.
Yeah. So I couldn't make it to the anniversary, but I had surgery 3 weeks ago. So
okay, I had that once before.
Oh, you had an Achilles before?
Yeah, and I was playing full court basketball in 6 months.
Yeah, but you can't move fast enough to yank an Achilles, Bruce. That's just not possible. Claude, I can understand.
That was 17 years ago, not now.
Yeah. So I'm showing y'all the nice gear they sent me.
Yeah, it's nice.
This is very nice. Well, congratulations on that. That's the beautiful thing about that is it stays with you forever.
Yeah, 35 years. I can't believe it. 35 years. Unbelievable.
35 years from 87. Wow, I've known you a long time. We've been friends.
Yeah, I walked on camp. That's my rookie year, 18 years old.
Yeah.
35 years ago. Yeah.
Right.
All right, let's check in with our caller. Go ahead, man. You're on.
Hey, gentlemen, this is 304 of the area code 304.
Yeah. You're innocent. You're innocent of all charges. Go. How was the environment there? I noticed a little bit on the empty seat side in some spots.
Yeah, so just being on CanesWear, I'd like to give a shout out to the board because I was unsure about parking. This was my first time in Blacksburg, and they were helpful. And the atmosphere was great. If you ever get a chance to go, you obviously should, especially this time of year. They actually have the hills in the background, and they're turning color this time of year. So just everything was beautiful. The campus was beautiful, and the game itself, it'll start out great. We have a great turnout as Canes fans. And, it did kind of go south in the second half. I will say that, as a talent evaluator, how is he not on the game, not on the field the first part of the year? I don't understand that. But he's very good. I don't think this team that we're looking at this season, I think it's going to be about a 50-50 mix next year. I think it's going to be a massive overhaul. And I think, like someone already mentioned, it takes time. I mean, look at Tennessee, what they're doing in Alabama. It took them 3 years to get to this. This takes a little bit of time, and as long as we can kind of continue to every game this season is going to be a dogfight, and hopefully with Clemson we can stay in that game and make it a dogfight, right? That will be kind of another kind of test on this coaching staff. With that being said, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to take shots at the linebackers. I know Corey Flagg gets a lot of flack. I think he's probably our best linebacker. I would like to see the set get a lot more playing time. I think he's kind of there. We're seeing mistakes by older players, and it's frustrating. So why not see mistakes from the young player who's going to make mistakes and let him kind of grow into that superstar that we all think he's going to be. I still don't understand the amount of rotation on that defensive line. Some of the defensive linemen just, I don't know. I understand that you got to rotate to keep the energy there, but for some reason, it just doesn't make sense without much rotation. As for James Williams, I get what you're saying. He does take bad angles, but like the gentleman just said, he's a hybrid player. I don't think you want to mess with him. I mean, he's one of those players you need to have on the field. There's no getting around it. And either way, this team, it's nice to get a win during these close games, but we're a passing team. We're not a running team. I don't think we're going to be a running team at all this year. It's just what it is, guys.
Well, it's funny, and I don't know
He's right. Can you put me on hold so I can listen because I am driving?
I'm going to do my best. If I fail you,
okay,
then call back. All right. Thanks, man.
All right.
By the way, I can't remember the name of it. The last time
the D-line didn't do anything bad today. So that today's argument about the D-line switching guys, I mean, I understand you take Taylor out, but you can't complain. They were really good today.
6 sacks. 6 sacks today. So I think you have zippo to complain about there. One question here is an interesting one, and I'm not sure where we're getting that. Hopefully it's not from this guy's phone. I don't think it is. One question, do you think, and I don't agree with this premise that the OC and DC are outdated. I'm not sure what's dated. Right now you're doing the best. Claude, you don't have to dress for us.
No. I'm getting ready. I want to step out once we get done. So I had to get ready. So.
Well, you look damn good.
Hey man, I'm trying.
No, but the question is, I'm not sure I understand where he's coming from by saying outdated. It's not like we're running the single wing. We're not Georgia Tech under Paul Johnson, if you want to talk about outdated.
It's not a wishbone. Not a wishbone.
No, we're not running the wishbone. We don't have guys, all with their hands and knuckles in the dirt like 1940s all over again. So I'm not sure where that is coming from. Again, to go back to something that we said earlier and something that I'm very passionate about, one of the reasons I'm always against the constant turnover of coaches is that you have, especially in a college game, because in the NFL, you can just go, hey, you, I'm trading you, you're cut. You can't do that in college. You can't pick up the phone and call Mac Brown and go, hey, Mac, I don't like my guards. You don't like your center. Why don't I trade my guards for your center and, we'll both be better teams. You can't do that. There's a transfer portal, but, that's a different animal. So when you keep firing people, that new coach inherits the old coach's players who were recruited by the old coach to fit that team and that philosophy and those assistants. When you clean everybody out, but you leave the players, it just doesn't happen like I Dream of Jeannie, and you go like that and everybody's on the same page. It just does not.
This is not an easy thing to do, to come in here with the expectations on top of it and don't have the talent. And these are not really your guys. So they may be good guys for somebody else, but it's not what you want. So Mario has to go through the weeding out process, which is what he's doing. He's figuring out, right, Clark, who he wants back next year and who he wants to see in the transfer portal. No matter what we think of them, that's what he's doing. He's figuring out his talent level and where he can go in the portal and in the recruiting.
Yeah, and that's really important to know. First of all, you got to give them time. New system, new coaches. Like you said, they're trying to figure everything out. I think right now he is evaluating his team, his strategy, see who can line up where. Do I need to enhance a position? Offensive line definitely has to be a priority in that. But how do we put it together coming up? I mean, the season's not lost, but I'm sure he's not. We're not in national championship status, right?
Right.
So play some of the younger guys. Let's see what they can do. I would call this like a test season, a test run.
Yeah, I
if
think
I'm the head coach. So
no Miami Hurricane fan wants to hear that, but it has to be reality.
That's
the
reality.
We sit there in the offseason. We got Mario. We're winning the Coastal. We're going to beat Clemson. It's not happening.
No.
I got caught up in that too, but I was wrong.
Well, everybody does. It's the same thing.
Yep.
All right. So here we have the commenter Byron here goes. What I'm saying is offense does not attack. Well, they did today. I thought they attacked today. Throw the ball 46 times. You're generally attacking. Not all the time though, and the defense is suspect at best. It's like these guys are thinking too much when it comes to plays on offense and defense.
I don't know about that. They're playing hard. There's not some of them just not that good. Our secondary is not fast. Not good.
Right.
The linebackers not fast, not good. So that's why there's an infusion of Basaint and these other guys that have some speed. We have some DBs that are very high recruits, but they're not playing that much because they're true freshmen and they're going to get burned. But they have the qualities that Mario wants. So next year, these kids will be in the lineup and they'll get some burn this year, a little bit. He's not going to ruin the red shirt. I just think if we have some of those guys and we get Citizen back with these receivers, I don't think anybody leaves. Mallory leaves, but he's only one. I think we could be a lot better next year, but we have to build up the offensive line. That is critical for this offense.
And that's not an overnight thing, though. That may not happen overnight. Ideally, it will, and ideally, this team improves. First off, I don't think a lot of people want to hear about next year right now. You can tell the frustration still, even after a win, that
Right.
people are not getting what they thought they were going to get. And you admit that you kind of bought into, we're going to win the Coastal, we're going to meet Clemson for the ACC title. I guess it could still happen, but it's not likely that's going to happen. And it's frustrating to see Florida State get off to a hot start when they've had their troubles, but they have hung on to their coach. They're letting him fight his way out of the mess that he walked into, which is what you have to do with Cristobal, which is what he will get that opportunity.
Plus, they can't afford to buy out because they're in deep doo-doo financially, Florida State.
Well, that's part of it. But why would you even consider that? No matter how even if they blew every game the rest of the year and finish 3-9 or whatever, 3-8, they're still not going to. Right. Yeah. The point is. The point is, this is taking probably the proper amount of time. I don't think logically you should have ever thought that it was going to happen overnight. Can you be upset with the way the team is playing? Of course it is. They were far from perfect today. We've talked about penalties. We've talked about there weren't much in the drop pass department, but the run game was not what it needs to be in order to sustain success. And Dr. Jones has correctly pointed out a complete lack of balance. Now, North Carolina, I guess you kind of had no choice in that sort of game because their defense isn't all that great. Virginia Tech is a very average or below average team that might not even play in a bowl game this year, and you barely eked it out. And the environment there is not what it can be, and I've been there when it can be, and I know what it's like. It is really something special. And the caller before referred to the environment, but he hadn't been there when it's full blown nut job.
At night,
and I'm
fortunate drunk too. Yeah. Hey, Claude, here's a guy that made a comment.
Oh, who, by the way, some of the people that come to our games are too. So it ain't just Virginia Tech. Trust me.
Doc, this guy says his mom is single. Am I interested? You think you know my wife? You think I'd be interested in this guy's mother?
You really want me to answer that?
Yeah, come on, don't be a wise ass.
She's interested in you?
No, he wants to know if I'm interested in his mother. She's single. He doesn't know I'm married, but you know my wife.
No. First of all, he would turn up missing. I can't understand why she's with him in the first place, but I do know she'll definitely we'll have to call Dateline to investigate that. Yeah, because he definitely turned up missing if that happened.
What else we got?
I guess, you know what? I think we're out of callers, Bruce, and we're probably out of original ideas. So I guess we should probably get ready to put this thing to bed for the day and remind everybody that we're going to be on it at the same time next week following the Duke game. Look for a 4:00 start. That's once again 12:30. The game, I don't know where you all watched it. I watched it on Valley's Sun, which is where you get the Heat and the Panthers and the Marlins. It was easy to find. It'll be the same broadcast crew, same everything. So if you like the broadcast, good. If you hated it, sorry, nothing we can do about it. Claude, are you going to wear a tie with that, by the way?
No, absolutely not.
No. All right. What do you get out of this game? What did you like and what didn't you like?
I'm really not. Again, I'm really not encouraged because of who we played. I mean, we did some things relatively well. We cleaned up a few areas. Many other things we talked about belongs to coaching. Like you said, the D-line played well. I think the coaches need to be more inventive on offense, open it up, spread it out, get more of an imagination with the route, the route running combinations, things like that. That's kind of my takeaways. If they can build on today, and the word for the day is consistency. So let's try to build on that.
Yeah.
Bruce?
I'm happy with the win, which nobody likes to hear, but we're 3-3, which is a big, big deal because you really do want to get into a bowl game. I don't care if it's a crummy bowl. You want to get into a bowl game. How embarrassing if we don't get into a bowl game with Mario as their coach. So I think that was a big step today. We had to win this game. I'm happy about that. I'm encouraged by the play of Young. I think that kid is something special. We're all banged up, but despite that, we won the game. And the injuries, I don't know what's going on with that. I can't explain it, but we're down to the third string tight end, a true freshman, a skinny kid. Banged up in the backfield. We have to work on that offensive line. I don't think the talent's there. The defense is what it is. They're going to give up big plays here and there, but they're playing hard, which is all you can really ask for. And the kid did we kick any field goals today? Yeah, he had 2 field goals. 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, so he didn't clang any of those. My final thoughts got nothing to do with this. I just want to say I'm sorry to the families of those 17 at Parkland. That was a horrible decision by that jury. It's a disgrace. And if this person knew that they were not going to vote for the death penalty from the beginning, they perpetrated a fraud on the court, the judge, and those families. That's a disgrace. I don't think they could fix it, but I feel bad because the day it happened, the next day, my wife and I were up there with our dog, Cash, doing pet therapy with all those kids. So we got to know all those families. And I lived through this the last 4.5 years, and I'm sick to my stomach about that jury verdict. So God bless those people and the people that they lost. And hopefully you can move on with your life. That's what I want to say. Sorry, it's got nothing to do with this.
Yeah, and now if I try to talk about football, that's going to sound pretty shallow. So I won't. We'll sign off. Claude, have a wonderful evening. Thank you to all the callers and the commenters. We appreciate your time as always. And that's all we have until next week. Same bat channel, same bat time.
20-14, we win. We win. 20-14, we win.
It is a victory for what it was worth. Ugly, and yet somehow the happy team is the one getting inside the airplane right now, and not the one going back to their dorm. So for Claude Jones and for Bruce Warner, I'm Dave Lamont. We appreciate you watching the CaneSport CanesWear post-game show. We'll see you in a week after the game against Duke. Take care.
Take care, you guys.